110 died. We had 156 on board. 110 died. 46 of us made it out of 156. There would not have been one survivor. No one would have survived had it not been for the people of St. Lawrence. I was there just that night, and the next morning they got me out of there, the Navy. But from the time I got to that mine, I'm waking up on that table, and the treatment I had to have a white lady cull me in their arms and feeding me with a spoon like an infant or what, and saying such nice things to me, and all I'd heard is nigger all my life, you know? And the thing just, it did something to me. It cemented into my soul. It just etched in my mind or what. And since that day, there has been not a day passed in my life that I have not thought about St. Lawrence. Every day since that day, I've thought about St. Lawrence. I was given leave and I went to Jacksonville, Florida, and it was a harrowing experience when I went to Jacksonville. I rode the train for about 3 days, and at that time we carried our sea bag and hammock with the mattress included. And when I got into the station, I saw all the Army MPs, the military police around. I wondered what was going on. And then I saw all these prisoners, Italian and German prisoners. It was hundreds of them, I guess. And I was hungry, and I was looking for the sign that I was accustomed to, white and colored. They'd have a sign where the colored people go in and for the white people. And I didn't see the sign. So I put my sea bag and hammock down, and I was going inside to ask somebody, where does the colored people go, you know, to eat? I wanted to buy a hamburger or something. And the policeman just grabbed me by my collar. I had a uniform on, slammed me on the ground and put his foot on my neck and pulled his pistol out and put it to my head and say, "You black son of a bitch, I'll blow your black brains out. You know better than to go in there." And I got up and went out, and I asked where was the Naval Air Station, and the SPs came and got me and took me to the air station. And it was harrowing. You know, here's the experience after the trucks and what. I thought about the people of St. Lawrence. And it was just to see the prisoners and all, you know, being treated, being fed, and here I was in uniform, and I couldn't go in to eat. I read something in the Navy magazine, All Hands, they call it, about different ratings were opening and things. I said, gee, why can't I have some of these ratings? And I put requests in on board ship to be a striker, you know, to go in that particular division and learn the trade of that division. And I would accept anything other than messman. I had made up my mind, and after St. Lawrence, that I was through with being a messman. And they immediately told me, no, no, no. And I read where they had elected a black representative from the state of Michigan. His name was Diggs. And I said, gee, maybe he can do something to get me out of this mess attendant thing, you know. And I got leave, and I went and I registered to vote using my mother's address so I could form a legal domicile in Michigan. And I wrote him and I wrote the Bureau saying that I thought injustice was being done, to me and to my country, and to the Navy, because I felt that I was qualified for some technical rating other than mess attendant. Finally, I got orders. And the orders read, report to Fleet Sonar School. And man, I'm telling you, when they read that letter to me, I thought about St. Lawrence. I said, gee, they put me on the right road, and I have reached the goal. I waited about 3, maybe 5 months before I could start class. I kept saying, why can't I start class? They say, we can't get a background because you got to have a secret clearance. I said, what background do you need? Say, we got to find out about your grandmother and where they come from or what? I say, listen, in Georgia, they didn't keep records of blacks until 1921, so there's no birth certificates. And he said, well, we'll let you know. So they called me down one day and the counselor said, Lanier, I got good news for you. I said, oh, great, I'm going to start class. He said, no. He said, we're going to make you chief steward. Make it retroactive back 6 months and you're going to get all that money. He said, but you got to leave the school and remain steward. Said, we're going to make you chief. I was first class steward. I said, sir, you can take this first class and take me all the way down to seaman or what? I said, don't just throw me out. Let me flunk out. He said, well, you can't make it. You can't go through this school. You can never do it. You're competing with college students and all, and they're young, and you're getting age on you now, or what? Say, why don't you leave and take it? I said, no. No. He said, well, your clearance come through. You'll start in the next class. I studied so hard in school. I'd be out on the grinder and go out and exercise and come back and study to make it. And I admit I had to study awful hard to make it through, but I was determined to make it through sonar school. And I wind up going back to sonar school, learning the attack teachers. And I was teaching on board the Yosemite, the destroyer tenders. My last years in the Navy, I was teaching anti-submarine warfare. I got out of the Navy and went to work for EG&G International, and that was a great experience. Great. They was glad to get me because I understood the transducers, and Dr. Edgerton from MIT, who's chairman of the board of EG&G. He more or less took me under his wing. Later, I went to work for them as an assembler, but later became a technical specialist. I believe it was 1963 when the Air Force, I believe, lost atomic bombs off Spain. And they were going to use the Albion. EG&G outfitted the Albion with the lighting system and a few other instruments. And they went down and they had attached the bombs and brought the bombs up, and big cheer went up. Big cheer went up because, and I felt extremely good because I knew I played an integral part in recovering those bombs. At that particular time, I was living in Mattapan. I had bought a house in Mattapan, and my kids were going to Hyde Park School because they assigned the black kids to some of the all-white schools and some of the white kids to the all-black schools. And my kids would come home in the afternoon with glass all in their hair where the people had thrown stones in the bus at the kids. My daughter said to me, she said, "Daddy, why do they treat us like this?" I thought about the people of St. Lawrence. And I told her, I said, everybody's not like that. I said, those people throwing those rocks is just a bunch of little tiny men throwing big rocks. I say, the world is not like that, and eventually it's going to change. I say, study hard or what, and they did. They did. The lesson that I learned in St. Lawrence taught me that I should show love and humanity. And when I saw the march across the bridge there at Selma, I knew then that I had to go. I looked at those people as the survivors of the Truxtun, needed help, and I looked at myself as the people of St. Lawrence, as they came to the rescue of what, knowing that they may lose their life, have to give their life. And I felt the same way, had the same willingness to give my life. I had to go to Selma. I had no choice. I had to go. And I went. And I stayed right there and slept there in front of Brown's Chapel for 4 days and nights.
But if a man has not discovered something that he will die for, he isn't fit to live. Deep down in our nonviolent creed is the conviction that there are some things so dear, some things so
The message that I got from Martin Luther King and the message that he sent out to the world was exactly the same as the people of St. Lawrence. He taught love and humanity, and it's exactly, to compare them, they were right in the same boat.
Everybody knows Lanier, eh? Everybody knows his name, and they know now he's the one who began his life when he landed on our shores. And, you know, it's a great reverence for him. He said, when I landed on your shores, he said, I didn't know where I was. I was 18 years old, and I thought I was a nothing. He said, I had been treated as a nothing, and I thought I was just, well, lesser than the least. And he said, when I saw the lady cleaning me, and she didn't mind the color of my skin, and then he said, I was taken to her home. He said, and I was treated royally by the family. He said, we sat down to a nice dinner with a linen tablecloth, and I drank out of china cups. He said, this never happened to me before. Aboard ship, he said, I didn't even sit to eat. I stood. And he said, all I knew was to mess a tune, polishing the officers' shoes and polishing their buttons. So he said, I began to think maybe I am worth something. These people think I'm worth something. So he said, my desire to live and to make something of myself started right here on your shore.
glory went out.
Yeah.
Back in there, they came in on the door.
Yeah, well, he was the one that my father and Dave Evers had him all rescued off the boat.
He was the one. He
left.
was hanging on.
But there was another fella, you know, besides him
yeah,
on the ship, and he went down and never came up. It was really, really tough, and we had to give up on that. Then, of course, what we did, or most of us did that was there at the time, went down on the beach and gave some help down there. Waited as far as you could and try to get a rope to them or something and get them in and on the beach, whether they were dead or alive. Then you got them on the beach and you found out if they were dead or alive, and then the live ones, we got them up over the cliff.
Very sad stage. So we started, as they brought him in, then we start washing them. There were girls at each name, you know, do. So me and Viola Pike took him as the man there, and anyhow we're washing away at him for a while, trying to. The first thing you do is have to get at her eyes. Her eyes were glued together. And anyway, when we're, and she looked at me, she said, "You know what? I can't get his hands. I can't get him clean. What part I'm working on." And he says, "No," he says, "because I'm black." Yeah. I haven't met him.
And I thank you so much.
I haven't met him until now. Yeah.
And I thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, sir.
I've thought about it ever since that night, and I appreciate it
Thank you very much.
so much.
Thank you.
So much.
Sad, very sad. I'm very sentimental. And when all them poor men came in, young boys, I thought, I wonder if I could curse, I would have said, "War is their wars." I see so many of them young boys. And one fellow I was watching in particular, he said to me, he said, "Let me die." I said, "No, dear, you're not going to die, because I'm going to make you better." Poor little fella. So he was right black, you know, with the tar. I mean.
Yeah.
So I did the best I could with it, washed his eyes, and got over and got the soup, and he couldn't drink it. He said, I said, "Yes, you can, you're going to drink it for me now." I said, "You'd drink it for your mom, wouldn't you?" So I said, "You better drink it for me now." And I said, "You'll get better." And I said, you'll go home to your mom." So he drank the soup, and he got a little bit better. But it was very sad. Very, very sad. And the boys would be crying, and my tears would go on their face. It was so hard, you know. And I thought, my goodness, why is there wars at all?